Hi, everybody. It's Professor Goldstein. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. Um, I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about, go back to the stock market, depending on how, and this is really for the rest of your life, for your retirement, for your future. And it's a great thing to know the stock market. And I have to say at the very beginning, like they say in The Wolf of Wall Street, it's really all a big fugazi. It's a big fugazi. In other words, it's not really real. It's a gamble. The stock market is a gamble. It's like playing the slots at a casino, or playing cards, blackjack or craps or something like that at the casino. It's not something that is a sure thing. Although it's a little bit better than gambling in that you own the stock. You actually have something. So at the table, they take away all your money and you have nothing. With the stock market, if it goes down, usually you still have, if it's a good stock, if it's a decent stock, meaning that it belongs to a good company, you own a piece of a good company like Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola's not going away. It hasn't gone away. It's not going away for many, many, many years. Maybe when my grandchildren are around it will no longer be a company, or something terrible happens, it will no longer be a company. But it will be around for a very, very long time. So if you own a share of stock in Coca-Cola, rest assured, even if your stock goes down this year, eventually your stock will do well. Usually stocks do not go very far down unless you're taking a high risk stock. If you're purchasing stock, when I say stock, purchasing a piece of a company, the stock will do well over a period of time. It may not do as well as you intended to do. It may not do as well as some other things, some other investment strategies that you could put your money into, but it will do well over a period of time. If you buy today, Google or Apple, hopefully they'll still be around. 10 years from now, there have been companies that were, when I was younger, that you would think would be doing extraordinarily well right now, that are not doing well right now, or have disappeared pretty much, or have been bought up by other companies and really did not do well. Like example, Polaroid was a big company when I was young. Polaroid cameras was a huge company. Kodak was a huge company. Well, we never really thought film would disappear. The whole idea of taking pictures with film, and that's what Kodak and Polaroid really relied upon. People not only purchasing cameras, but usually that they would buy film for their cameras, and when they shot a picture. Now, hey, digital came along, and all of a sudden, purchasing film really was not. I mean, there's still people who buy film, but very, very few. And people now have their phones, and they don't purchase film anymore, and so all their pictures are digitized. So you really kill a company with new technological innovation. You killed these two major, huge corporations that employed thousands and thousands of people, that people owned stock in for many, many years, that most people if you asked a person 20 years ago, 25 years ago, is Kodak a good stock to invest in? They would say, oh yeah, all pictures are made with Kodak film. So yeah, I would buy Kodak. Kodak's going to do well over the time. They're not going out of business. And then bingo, this comes along, and people no longer take pictures with film. Very few people take pictures with film, and Kodak is no longer the company that it once was. It's still around, but no longer the company that it once was. So, investing in a stock, yes. So you should all be looking into the stock market as one of your portfolio tools. Now, when I say portfolio, everything that you have to invest in goes into your portfolio. So you should have a percentage of your money, the money that you invest, should be broken up into different things. The wealthiest people in the world and the poorest people in the world who have a portfolio, some sort of investments, invest in different things. So let me give you some things that you invest in. Obviously, you invest in the stock market. You invest in your own primary home if you own your home. So that's an investment in itself that you could sell, buy, trade upon. In other words, borrow upon. It's an investment. Your usually your automobile. If you have an automobile, that's something that's an investment. If you own it, if you're leasing it, it's not an investment. But if you own it and you could sell it, you could do all sorts of. It's an actual practical investment. Jewelry, high end jewelry, gold, silver, diamonds. Usually those things are investments, not just beautiful things to adorn your hands and your neck and your ears, but actually an investment. So that's part of your portfolio. Hopefully that stuff will go up or down depending on what the markets are for gold and silver and platinum and things like that. If you own like a high-end watch, a high-end automobile, and then obviously beyond real estate, your own home, there's real estate that you invest in. If you want to invest in there's investment tools to invest in real estate, but there's also purchasing an apartment, a second apartment, and renting it out, or a house and renting it out, or land and renting stores to people and things like that. So there are investments you can make with real estate, obviously. And then there's all sorts of investments that we don't really remember. But life insurance is an investment if you do it's not term life insurance, but if you're doing whole life insurance, in other words, you're paying money into your life insurance policy, you could trade in your life insurance policy. There's a number that it'll give when it's come to completion. You could get a certain amount of money back. In other words, they're by paying your life insurance, and we'll talk about life insurance another time. But life insurance can be an investment. It's term life insurance is not really. Term life insurance is almost like leasing a car. So term life obviously is much cheaper than whole life insurance because you're not getting any money back. But life insurance is a bet. It's a bet upon you or someone else in your family that they will live or die at a certain age. And life insurance could be very important to your family in terms of being part of your portfolio. In that, God forbid anything happens to you, you want to provide them with the money that you are earning, and you're not around anymore. So, people take out $250,000 in life insurance, $500,000, $1 million in life insurance, $5 million in life insurance. You always hear that when an actor is doing a movie, they take out life insurance on that actor because God forbid something happens to that actor or actress during the filming, that the company can recoup the loss of losing them and then losing the movie because they've been filming them in the movie. All sorts of things with life insurance in terms of portfolios. So here's what investments are. Like this, I'll give you an example. This summer, Tom Cruise, who's big movie star, is coming out with a new movie in theaters. I think it's coming out this summer, maybe next summer. So he's had two prior movies in this genre before. He did Top Gun 1, and then he did Maverick, Top Gun 2, and now I think he's doing Top Gun 3. So you look at Top Gun 1, the first movie, the original movie, and it did extraordinarily well for the time in the movie theaters. It was with the same actor, Tom Cruise. It made the studio and Tom Cruise and everybody who invested in it lots and lots of money. Maverick, his second film, even did better. It made more money and did extraordinarily well. So Top Gun 3, and my dog is making noises, Top Gun 3 is coming out this summer or next summer, I'm not sure. Would you say, if you were an investor, is that a good investment for you to get involved in? You've seen the prior two films do well. Obviously, yes, that would be a good investment for you to make. Though, unfortunately, you can't invest in movies, but you can invest in things like Broadway shows and things like that. But that's not the point. That's how you look at stocks. You look at their prior record, and you look at what you think they're going to do in the future. And that's how you can kind of, at least at your best guess that a stock will do well. Now, that doesn't mean a stock that hasn't done well in the past might not do well now for some reason. It may have come up with something or done something. But you try to look at the track record of a stock, and you try to decide, is this something that I think will do well in the future? And that's how you kind of judge a stock and what a stock is doing. So today I want to talk to you about what I've been talking about with my son for the last couple of weeks, months, and he has a lot of cash that he's saving, and he has them in different things right now. And I've been trying to. He already has money in the stock market, but I've been trying to sit down with him and try to decide how best to develop his portfolio in stocks for the future, because he's young. He's 25 years old. So he could take more risks than I could take. I'm much more risk averse, meaning that I don't take as big a risk because I am older now and I can't handle the fluctuations as easily as he can. I have to have a more stable type of earnings every single year so that I know where my money's coming from. He doesn't need that. He could take some risks now. He's still young. You could take some risks now if you're still young. And there are three different primary methods to get into the stock market. The stock market's doing, as I said, it's doing very well right now. The economy is, broken up into different things. The economy is obviously broken up into the cost of living, which is not doing well. You are paying, obviously, much more for everything you buy. Food, basic life, clothing, travel, everything costs more. Gas is at its, it's very high right now. Hopefully it'll go down soon. They're going to be suspending the taxes on gasoline, the federal taxes on gasoline for a little while. All these things are costing more. The stock market, though, is doing extraordinarily well for the average person. And it's a great investment at the moment. Doesn't mean it will be tomorrow. Doesn't mean it will be, 5 years from now. But right now it's doing extremely well. So there are three ways to really get into the stock market as a young investor. You guys and myself when I was young. Right now there are three ways. One is obviously the individual stocks. You buy one stock, five shares of stock, 100 shares of stock, 1,000 shares of stock in a company. That means you own a portion of that company, but you're a silent owner. You don't really have too much say in the company except to vote on who gets to be the director of the company. It's almost like you're a voter in the United States. You don't really have too much power as a voter in the United States except your power to vote. But your stock sits there, wherever it is, electronically on, in front of you, and you have 100 shares of stock, and your stock goes up. So you want your stock to go up, obviously, and you also want to have what's called a dividend reinvested in your stock. So every time a dividend is reinvested in your stock, that means you get another percentage of that stock is purchased for you. So you build your portfolio over time. If you have one share, maybe in 4 or 5 years you have 2 shares. Or if the stock splits, you have 4 shares of stock. And hopefully the stock goes from, you bought it at $20, hopefully it goes up to $70 or $50 or whatever it is over a period of time. Over a period of time, the stock market has been extraordinarily lucrative for people who invest in it. In other words, if you invest in basic, good stocks over a long period of time, you will make good money, better money than investing in any other part of your portfolio, better than investing in the jewelry, better than investing in the car, better than investing in the real estate. Even though real estate is very good, it has not kept up with the stock market. The stock market has been the number one investment tool for people. That doesn't mean it will be in the future. And I'm not an advocate. I don't make any money off of telling people to buy into the stock market. I tell my own son to buy into the stock market because I believe it's the best way to secure your future so that you have money when you retire or for the rest of your life. So obviously the individual stocks is one way to invest. The second way to invest is through mutual funds. Now mutual funds are large groupings of stock that are chosen by financial advisors that are hired by these that work for these companies, and these mutual funds are grouped into all different types of categories and different types of mutual funds, and they include all different types of stock. And that doesn't mean when you buy into a mutual fund that same grouping of stock will be in that mutual fund forever. Those financial advisors buy and sell that stock within the mutual fund depending on what they think will be the best thing for their clients. So they usually keep most of it, but or the idea of the mutual fund, but they're always trading it. You, when you buy into that mutual fund, are buying into the track record of that mutual fund, how that mutual fund has done over time. And that's how they sell it to you. They sell it to you by saying, hey, our mutual fund has given us a 14% return average over the last 15 years. So in other words, they're telling you, hey, you can expect at least a 14% return on your money if you invest in this mutual fund. They're not guaranteeing it because they can't do that by law. What they're saying is, take a look at our track record. This is what we're doing. It's kind of like a gamble. It's a gamble. You're putting your money down on, red or black, or you're putting your money down in blackjack, and they're saying to you, hey, you give us your money. This is what we've returned over the last couple of years. We're hoping that this rate of return will continue for us because we have a pretty good track record. You're betting on the Yankees. You're betting on the Knicks. You're betting on their prior performance over the last few years as a team that's going to be successful this year. That's what you're betting on. So that's mutual funds. Mutual funds have fees, large fees, more than stocks and more than the other investment tool that I'm going to talk about. So you're paying them to do the work for you, to invest for you. That's what you're really doing. And most people who have 401ks are invested in mutual funds, but you may get to choose some of the funds within your 401k. Some companies give you that ability, but basically you're stuck with the companies that they've chosen. So let's say you're retired and you're in New York City. You're working for New York City health. You're working for a hospital in New York City, or you're working for the teachers, or a cop, a fireman, sanitation. Your 401k is usually matched by the city. In other words, they take a percentage of your paycheck, and then they give the same amount up to a certain amount of money every year, and they match you. So like at Kingsborough, it's not really called a 401k, it's called a 403. It's something else, but it's still a 401k. Basically, for every dollar I put in to my 401k at Kingsborough, the city matches that dollar that I put in up to, I think, up to like $14,000 or something like that, some high number. So whatever, every year, up to $14,000, if I take out of my own salary, the city will match that and put in $14,000 on my behalf. So that's a lot of money. So when you factor in your salary at working as a teacher or a fireman or as a sanitation worker, you should factor in your 401k. Say, hey, listen, I'm making $80,000 a year working as a sanitation worker, but I'm getting another $14,000 a year from the city, so I'm really making $94,000. Even though I'm not seeing that money is going into an account, and I have to deduct $14,000 from my $80,000 right now, also to go into that 401k. I am still earning eventually over time, if I stay working, for the sanitation department. That even then, your 401k is still there for you when you retire, but it gets kind of frozen, or you move it. You can't really take the money out until you retire. And then you still have to pay taxes on it. I know they get you in all sorts of ways. So that's what a mutual funds are. Mutual funds are groups of stocks that are chosen by financial advisors, not by you. So if you buy an individual stock, you get to choose which stocks you're investing in. A mutual fund, you're just investing in a group of stocks that are chosen by somebody else, okay? So that's the primary difference between an individual stock and a mutual fund. And then there's what's called an ETF. Now, ETF stands for Exchange Traded Funds. I don't know where they came up with that name, but that's the name. So it's called, everyone knows them as ETFs, and it's really relatively new ETFs. When I was starting investing, when I was young, I had never heard of an ETF. I don't think they existed. It's a relatively new form of trading, and really it's a way of trading. It's a usually smaller group of stocks than a mutual fund, and they're usually grouped around industries. So like if you're buying it might be like less than mutual funds are usually across the board, but they may be more high risk, low risk, but they're not grouped around industries necessarily. ETFs group themselves around, let's say, AI. If you want to buy AI and you don't want to buy an individual stock in AI, you buy an AI ETF, which gives you 20 companies that are working in AI, and it groups that section of stocks. So an ETF, mutual fund, individual stock. So let's say I'm interested right now in energy, oil and gas. There are many ETFs, exchange traded funds. I always forget that. That invest in oil and gas. So I look at all the different ETFs that are involved in oil and gas, and I decide which ones are trading in the stocks that I want them to be trading in, and also what their track record has been over the last 4 or 5 years in terms of trading ETFs. So it's very, very important that you understand where you're putting your money, because obviously it's your money. You worked hard for it. You want to make sure that you have an investment that is something that will be there when you retire at the age of 65, 66. You want to have that money there, and you want to have that money over the years that you've been earning you money, so that you can retire with a larger amount of money. And it can be quite substantial, the difference between investing poorly and investing well, and not investing at all. If you don't invest at all and you put your money into a bank and you say, I'm not going to invest my money, I'm going to let it sit there, you're losing money. You are losing money over time. Now, that is the truth. You put money into a savings account, you may be earning 2, 3, 4%, depending on what kind of savings account you could find, or CDs. Yes, it's secure as a bank can be under these days. A bank is extremely secure. It's backed up by the federal government, but things change. Banks do close, and if there's a real collapse, the federal government will not be able to back up all those banks. But that's more horror stories. I don't want to talk about that. The truth of the matter is, stock market, real estate, those are two great things to have in your portfolio. And portfolios are very important because one, it's important for your own sense of knowing where your money, you want to always know where your money is going and how much your money is earning you each year. You want your money to be working for you. You don't want to be working for your money in life. Obviously, you're working for your money, but then once you have that money, your money can earn money. That's the great thing about capitalism. I know everybody's anti-capitalist these days, but I happen to be a huge advocate for capitalism. Why? Because under communism, under Marxism, you don't earn money. You don't earn anything. There's no earning. Everyone supposedly, if you really want to get to it, is the same. I'm not going to fight Marxism versus capitalism. But the truth of the matter is that in capitalism, you have the ability to raise yourself above where you are. The father and the mother who started out their lives with $5 in their bank account can, through hard work, ingenuity, investment, become the multimillionaires living in the mansion. And that happens all the time. All the time. What we don't do in this country, and I really feel bad, is celebrate, because people are very quiet. They don't like talking about their success, even though you think they do. They love showing off their jewelry and their cars and their homes. Yeah. But they don't talk about the stories of their success. And I know so many people. So many. Now, there are people who are not success stories. Yeah, there are people who, born poor, died poor. But you shouldn't. You should not be born poor and die poor in a capitalist society. You should always be born poor and die not necessarily wealthy, but in better circumstances than when you were born. And the way to do that is to invest. to have your money earn money for you. The people who don't learn that are the people who don't succeed in life. The people who bury their money in a mattress or in the wall, or who are scared, who don't know how to invest their money. Those are the ones who don't succeed. You could, through hard work, even with a low-paying job, a janitor. You could be a janitor and die a millionaire. Not, it's not great. Well, you're dead. No. I mean, you could be, in your last years of your life, have millions of dollars accumulated. If you invest, if you know how to invest, if you have your money earning money for you, you can do that. And it really is not hard. It's like learning a language. It's like learning a secret handshake or something. There's a world of opportunity. And the other thing to success, and I'll close the video on this because I know I talk forever, but I really want you guys to know this. This is important for your life. Learn finance. Learn how to invest in ETFs. Learn how to invest in mutual funds. Learn how to invest in individual stocks. And then, now you have, when you go to a bank, and the bank says, do you have anything to back up, if you want to borrow money? Do you have, well, I have investments in ETFs. I have investments in mutual funds. So you have collateral. You have what's called collateral. You have money to borrow money. And you know what borrowing money allows you to do? Borrowing money in America is one of the great secrets. Now, it's also dangerous. It's a risk. It's like gambling. I use these terms all the time. You could get hurt by it. Yes, without a doubt, you can get hurt borrowing money. But if you borrow within your range of being able to survive, it could earn. So here's what you do with borrowing money. So you have a portfolio. You bought an apartment. You bought a house. Now you want to buy another house or another apartment or more stock or whatever it is you want to buy. You want to purchase. Let's say you want to purchase. You have a house and you want to buy a house as an investment. Now you still have a mortgage on your house, and you're still paying that mortgage. You have a 20-year mortgage on your house, and you're paying that mortgage every month. And you own stock, and you're investing your money. And you go to the bank and you say, listen, there's an opportunity for me to buy another house in my neighborhood, and I want to rent it out and earn money. And the house costs $700,000, and I want to buy it, and it's in my neighborhood. I've been able to accumulate some cash to put down 10%, 20% on the house. I want to borrow the money from the bank in order to purchase the rest of the house. Take a mortgage out on the house, but I want to borrow the money so I can buy the house. The bank looks at your portfolio, your house that you have now, how much of your mortgage you've paid off, the stocks that you have right now, the cars, the jewelry, everything that you have in your portfolio, and they say, well, we can lend you this much money, or whatever amount of money that they can lend you in order to purchase this house. And maybe, so the house is a beat up old house, and you renovate it, and you make it a $1,500,000 house. And you either rent it or you flip it and you sell it. You've used the bank's money. Now you have to pay interest on the money while you're borrowing that money, but you will make more money in terms of your investment. You've used other people's money. I hate to use the word OPM. Other people's money, meaning the bank makes money by loaning money to other people, and you've used their money to purchase another property that you can either sell or rent, depending on what you're doing with it, and you've kept your portfolio, you've kept everything you've had, you've just leveraged that so you were able to purchase something else. That's a basic, fundamental of business thing. Borrowing money to earn money. Borrowing money to earn money. And that's how people get rich in America. That's how people get very, very wealthy in America. They borrow to earn. So they're not using their own money. They're using the bank's money, or they're using other investors' money. or you get 5 people together and you invest in it. You use other investors' money to, you say, listen, I'm going to fix this place up. You guys invested, I'll return your investment with a certain amount of return, and you take all the rest of the profits. There's all sorts of ways of earning money in this country that have made people extremely wealthy over time, and one of them is using the way of borrowing. Now, obviously, if this investment doesn't turn out well, you can't sell it, you can't rent it, and then all of a sudden you're stuck with it and you have to pay the bank. Well, now that's the downside. It's a real downside because you have to pay the money back to the bank, or they'll take the property away from you. But that's the worst thing. They'll take the property away from you. They're not going to take, or they'll take your collateral away from you. They can go after that too. So, yeah, there's a terrible thing. It's a risk. But if you have a good idea and you feel that this investment will do well, you could succeed in life. Now, I know an immigrant couple that came to this country with no money. They slept on couches. They had no money in this other people's couches. Now they're in their 70s. And I'm talking about somebody in my family, and they're multimillionaires because what they've done is they took their hard earnings, they took whatever money they made in their jobs in life, and they invested in rental properties, and they invested in stocks and bonds, and we'll talk about bonds later. But they invested over a period of time, and they borrowed from one apartment that they bought, they borrowed to buy another apartment. And from that apartment, they borrowed more money. And they borrowed from banks, and they were able to pay the banks back. And they built up a large portfolio of real estate that provides rental income from all of these pieces of real estate. These people do not live an extravagant life. They live a very simple life. But they have millions of dollars. Not just millions of dollars in cash and in investments, but they have millions of dollars worth of real estate that they've accumulated over this period of time that doesn't go away. So, okay, I think I've talked long enough and bored you long enough. So remember, ETFs, mutual funds, individual stocks. Individual stocks, mutual funds, ETFs. Look at them. Get a sense of what they are. Google them. Figure out where you want to put your money, in which ETFs, which mutual funds, with which individual stocks. Start taking part of your paycheck when you start earning money and putting it in investments. Save and put into different areas. Things that you think will do well. No one should be able to tell. You should choose. You should be able to be like who are you choosing? Are you choosing the Yankees or the Baltimore Orioles? Are you choosing the Knicks or the Detroit Pistons? These are the types of things you should be able to choose yourself. Which team am I going to invest in? Which movie? Which movie am I going to invest in? Which company am I going to invest in? Which mutual fund am I going to invest in? And then keep it for the long term. Have the dividends reinvested. Have all these things reinvested so that you will make money over the long term. All right. Have a great day. Keep working on your paper, your business plan. It is due the day after Memorial Day. Have a great Memorial Day. Get it done before Memorial Day so you can send it to me on the day after Memorial Day so that you have a great weekend. Have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you on... I'll talk to you Wednesday. I'm going to do another video tomorrow. All right? I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.